Hey, Statesmen Nation, we are back here at Wood Iron Grill with another great week of guests. William Penn has an action-packed weekend as the women's wrestling team is up in North Dakota wrestling at the NAI Nationals, along with our men's and women's bowling teams at USBC sectionals. Along with that, our men's volleyball team will be in action against Grandview on Friday, their second top 10 matchup of the week. Cheer and dance is competing this weekend along at the Hart Championships, And then on Saturday, both lacrosse teams will be in action here at home, along with our baseball teams on Saturday and Sunday. So with that, we're going to get into our first interview here with our first guest tonight, the head coach for men's lacrosse, Luke Christiansen. Luke, thank you for joining us.
Hey, thank you for having me.
So just to start here, you guys last week went down to St. Louis, picked up 2 more wins over Missouri Baptist and Taylor. What kind of led to the success in those wins, and how did those games go in your eyes?
Yeah, they were both 2 good games, against 2 scrappy opponents. Missouri Baptist is a little bit of rebuilding mode, and so we did a good job of going out and executing and, getting a good team win. Taylor was a good win. Very tough, scrappy team, very physical. And they gave us all they had, and so I was proud of the guys for coming out and really responding well and putting that game away.
Yeah, those are 2 good games down there. You guys won by a good amount, and you guys are now starting here 5-1. In your eyes, how has the team been progressing through these first 6 games of the season?
Yeah, I think we picked up where we left off last season and just been continuing to build the chemistry throughout this time and get a little bit more continuity. And the big thing moving forward is just we have to continue to build on those things. We've had a good start, but there can't be any complacency. We can't be, happy with just a good start. We have to finish strong this season. Now we're getting into a really, really key stretch going forward, and so this next week's going to tell us a lot about us.
Yeah, and getting into that stretch there, you guys are having your first home game of the season. No, you guys played technically a home game in West Des Moines there, but your first game here at Statesmen Stadium. So can you tell us about just how excited is the team and what kind of has been the preparation this week?
Yeah, the team's excited to finally, not have to travel for a game, right? Like every game we've traveled in some capacity, so it's nice to, have the guys drive themselves and just be able to roll up to the stadium. And I think, the biggest thing we've been focusing on is the mental side, of really being mentally prepared for this week, because we're going to get a monumental effort from them. And so being prepared mentally to handle that and then respond is a big part of what we need to do this weekend. And then also being healthy. We're very healthy for this time of year compared to what we were last season, and that's been intentional. And so that's something that, we should feel really good about, that we're healthy and pretty fresh going into this kind of middle meat of the season.
Yeah, and I know last time you were out here we talked about Breck, and this past week he won the Hart Offensive Player of the Week along with the NAIF Offensive Player of the Week.
Yep.
Just how big of a help has he been to your team this year?
Breck's obviously, he's a walking point machine, but we knew that coming in, right? Like when we landed him, we knew that he was going to be one of the best players the NAI has ever seen, and he's proven that. He literally is one of the best players the NAI has ever seen, and in a couple of weeks, he's going to break the NAI points all-time record, and he's earned it.
And so with that, Coach, any last thoughts here before our fans get to see you finally at home?
We don't like Ottawa, they don't like us, and so it's time for us to go get some revenge.
Alrighty, well, thank you again for joining us out here, and we'll be right back here at Wood Iron Grill with our next guest. Back here with our second guest of the night, head baseball coach Mike Laird.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Coach, through the first 15 games, your team is sitting at an 8-7 record. How do you feel about how the team is sitting right now?
Well, after that first weekend, we went 1-3 against some pretty average teams. I wasn't feeling real good. We didn't play very well a couple games. We probably should have taken 2 more of those at least. But since then, we've had 2 3-game series weekends and against very good competition. As a matter of fact, 2 or 3 teams were ranked, and we defeated them. So I felt pretty good about that. I mean, probably should have won a couple earlier games, but we did play really well enough to get by some really good teams just in the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, and you're playing well at home, especially with those home games last weekend. But mentioning the home games, you guys have a 4-game homestand with Central Methodist starting off the hard play this week. How are you feeling about those games? And I know Central Methodist kind of doing pretty good right now, on a roll.
Yeah, Central Methodist is is really pretty good. They're currently ranked 7th. They're pretty good, and I don't know if we play as well as we can play and don't make mistakes. We can hang with them, and we can probably get them a couple games. But there's no doubt about it. They have a lot of D1 transfers. They've got a lot of guys like that. Physically, they're a pretty dominant team. But baseball's baseball, and you don't know what's going to happen. But anyway, so looking forward to that. I wish we had our entire lineup together because right now we're a little bit injured, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and kind of going off those injuries, how do you and your staff kind of, I know like last week you guys switched in a couple of players throughout the games and had a couple of different lineups. How do you go about making those lineups and deciding which players you want to play which games?
Well, in particular, pitching and defense wins most games, and we've struggled a little bit, particularly in the outfield. It's been a little bit of a, we've moved some people around, and normally we don't do that, but we've had to try and find guys that could, at least make routine plays out there, and so we're still kind of looking around at that. And then obviously, can they get on base? Can they utilize their speed? The center fielders, left fielders, they're usually pretty quick guys. But if they can't get on base, we can't utilize their speed. So, we're still trying to figure some tough stuff out with a couple of positions out there. But by and large, most of our infielders have done a really nice job. We've got a little bit more depth in catching, and pitchers know what they need to do.
And to go along with how important pitching is, when you have a 4-game stand like you do this weekend, what goes into decisions of what pitchers use which days and how long they can go for?
Well, that's a good question. That can vary a great deal as well. Typically you go with your number 1 guy right off the bat, and number 1 and 2 guys. Some teams flip-flop it. They go 1 and 4 and then 2 and 3 on the second day. I usually don't mess around. I don't try to play games. If our 1 and 2 guys are good enough to beat their 1 and 2 guys, then we'll figure it out on Sunday. But we've got we got a 1 and 2 guy that can compete with about anybody, and so that's a good thing. But almost everybody does. So those the first couple games are vital, with the series starting. But you're also going to see some very good arms, and they could go either way.
And then, Coach, just kind of give us a look into what the rest of the season holds for you guys. I mean, of course, 8-7 right now, but still a lot of games left. Where do you see this team getting to towards the end of the season?
Well, again, if we could get all of our lineup together, right now we're probably missing our number 3 and 4 hitters out of the lineup, and that's not a good thing at all. And I don't know if anybody would think that was something that was easy to overcome, but if we can keep it together, we are improving a little bit each week. We see that with some of our players. But, I'm not sure. We've got also probably the toughest conference schedule. We got the top 3 teams that were in the South last year. We ended up drawing them in a naked draw, of course, for 12 of our conference games. So we're going to have to play really, really well. But that's if we get by those teams and play well against them, it bodes well for postseason play. We should really be tough for postseason.
All right, Coach. Well, thank you for joining us out here, and we'll be right back here at the Wood Iron Grill with our next guest.
Thank you.
Our third and final guest here tonight at Wood Iron Grill is the head coach for Shotgun Sports, Steve Heaton. Coach, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. That on? There we go.
So, Coach, had a very successful fall season, winning every single competition that you guys went to. Can you kind of just tell us a bit more about how that went for you guys?
a tournament. I mean, we show up at every tournament, wanting to win everything you can, just like anybody else. So they practice hard, and we've got a very talented team. They just won it. Every time they show up, they just won it. So it's kind of nice to see.
And then off of that, I mean, you guys have had a long break since competing. How has it been for the team to be able to keep them engaged and keep them not rusty, I would say?
They haven't taken any time off. They've been gone about every weekend. The kids that really want it are gone every weekend on their own dime. So they've been out shooting in Colorado, Nebraska, Minnesota. Some been down to Georgia. So they're spending their own money to stay on top. So that kind of shows you what they want.
And then, coming off of that, I mean, what has been your message to the team coming up for this spring? Like, I know they've been competing individually and going to tournaments like that, but as a team together, what's kind of been your message to get them back together and get them ready for nationals?
We've been doing a lot of drills and practices and stuff like that. I've had several kids go out on their own, but as a team, competing against some of the other teams. So they're pushing themselves. The practices have been going phenomenal. We're a little bit behind on a couple of disciplines that I feel comfortable with right now. But the spring break next week, we'll get those honed in before we head off to nationals. So
I was going to say, to maybe some of the people out there who don't know exactly what a shotgun sports practice looks like, can you maybe give us a rundown of what happens?
Well, just tonight in 3 hours, they shot over 3,000 rounds. So with just 12 kids. So we do a lot of drills. They pull the trigger a lot to build that muscle memory. It's just like any other sport. So they're out there just to build the muscle memory, to see that sight picture clearly every time, just preparing themselves, because here in a couple of weeks, or actually we leave on the 16th, they're going to shoot 3,000 rounds in 4 days, every one of them. So they're trying to get themselves built up and ready for nationals. So.
And with some of the leaders, I know there's a lot of the kids who come back year after year and have a lot of experience on the team.
Yep.
How has that been for the team chemistry?
It's been really good, especially for the freshmen, to see that team camaraderie. So that's really helped. The upperclassmen have done a phenomenal job, especially in the off season, of keeping them pumped and keeping them going. So it's been huge.
And then lastly here, Coach, you have the ACUI Nationals coming up here soon.
Yep.
What is it going to take for your team to be successful?
This one, we're going into it a little bit differently than we have in the past. Like I just told you before during the break, my team's always been wanting competition. So I kind of give them a little shock. I put them at D1 this year. So William Penn's going to go down into the ACUI Nationals at D1 division against Texas A&M, Georgia, Schreiner, Lindenwood. So if they can place in the top 5 down there against them guys, they're going to do good. So I've got a very talented team. If they show up, we get the nerves off. We'll see what happens on Saturday.
And again, just one last thing. What things have you seen that make you feel confident going into this last national tournament of the year?
Well, just tonight, I mean, like I said, we got a couple of disciplines that we got to work on. But tonight alone, out of the 3,000 targets they shot, they missed 5. So I think they're getting along pretty good, so we'll get there.
All right, well, thank you again for joining us up here. Your William Penn Shotgun Sports team will be in action March 18th down in San Antonio, Texas, competing at the ACUI Nationals. But again, we want to thank you for joining us out here. And just another note, we will be back on the 21st out here at Wood Iron Grill. We will not be here next week as is spring break here on campus for William Penn. So again, have a good night, and thank you for joining us.